Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera. Anda sedang menonton Agenda Awani. Terima kasih. Anda mungkin mahu menonton bola, tapi sambil itu boleh menonton Agenda Awani. Malaysia, Harimau Melaya sedang seri dalam aggregate ya bersama pasukan Vietnam. Dan Malaysia, Vietnam ada juga persamaan lain. Dua negara yang begitu melihat dengan luas dan dalam kepada industri minyak dan gas ataupun petroleum. Oleh itu saya ingin minta izin berbicara dalam bahasa Inggeris. I would like now to welcome my guest for today because currently a very important gathering is happening. Is the IPTC that is ongoing right now in Kuala Lumpur, and tomorrow will be the last day. So yes. I would like to take this opportunity to look a bit deeper and maybe a bit wider about what's happening in the oil and gas or petroleum industry. I have Aravin Kanyapan. Thank you so much for making time.
No worries, thank you.
You head the Baker Hughes. You know, you look at sales in the Southeast Asia region.
I do, yes.
Yes. So, but I would like to tap into your mind and experience into a lot of things, because I do understand that in the oil and gas, you know, it's not so silo. You do know about other areas within the area that you have to look at. So, the elephant in the room will be people looking at the Brent crude and the price and all that. But what I want to extrapolate from there, because if we look at the fact, even in reserve, there's about 1,100 billion barrels around, according to OPEC statistics in the world. So that's enough supply for, they say, 4 decades of energy use around the world. So petroleum is still one of the most important energy mix for us right now, maybe even a few more decades to go into the 21st century. So if that is the case, so a lot of focus is on the price right now, but I want to draw attention to how the resiliency of the industry, because a lot of resources, especially I think post-World War II, has been put into the technological side, into the human resource side, and all the other stuff. So right. What's your point of view on that? Because sometimes people tend to look only at the consumer end, right, where behind that is a whole lot of people working on the frontiers of technology and even safety sometimes,
yes, that's right,
to make that happen.
Yeah. So, as you very rightly pointed out, crude oil and gas, they form a major part of the world's energy consumption, right? More than a third. And that picture is not going to change anytime soon. You know, of course, renewable energies are coming in, but still for the foreseeable future, yeah, petroleum products are going to form the crux of the world's energy demands. You talked about the oil price as well. It's a cyclical industry. This is not something new in the industry. The industry goes through cycles and it comes back, right? But based on the amount of technology that has been put into the industry, we see that it's an industry that continues to push the frontiers. And that's for a very simple reason. The easy-to-reach reserves are slowly getting less and less. Yeah. And you have to go into deeper formations. You have to operate in deeper waters.
Even in Southeast Asia? Even in Southeast Asia.
Deep water drilling is the new frontier in Southeast Asia, in Malaysia, in Vietnam, and places like that. You've got to go into hotter and more pressurized formations. All of these present technological challenges. And at companies like Baker Hughes, this is what we've done for more than 100 years, right? We've provided technologies for our customers. In collaboration with them, we listen to what their requirements are, their challenges are, and in collaboration with them come up with answers, technologies that will allow them to extract these petroleum products from the ground. You know, at Baker Hughes, our purpose is, you know, encapsulated in 7 words. It's enabling safe, affordable energy, improving people's lives. So you talked about safety, right? That's at the forefront of what we do. The industry is one that is by nature inherently dangerous, right? But the industry does a very, very, very good job in regulating itself in terms of providing safety for the people who work on oil rigs, in refineries. So much so that I would say that it's one of the safest industries around. It's because this aspect of safety is taken into so much consideration that people, I would say, are quite safe working on in these frontiers, right?
If you look at it, you know, it's still one of the industry of choice for a lot of young people.
It is.
Not only because of the technology aspects, but also its rewards and remuneration and benefits. And we know the allowances going offshore and stuff like that. It's okay to be away for 2 weeks. You come back, you have enough money to spend. But how do you look at, especially Southeast Asia?
Yeah.
Because the great thing about Southeast Asia is that it's so plural, and things are booming.
They are,
so it's not just one thing or the other. You know, we want our cake and we want to eat it too.
Right.
So how do you look in terms of, you know, the industry itself in Southeast Asia? Because on one hand, we know it's a very competitive industry inherently.
It is,
but
yes.
even more so for Southeast Asia, where everybody wants to be the economic tiger and moving forward.
Right. So, you know, I joined the oil industry about 15 years ago. And the allure, like you said, it was, you know, it's an exciting industry to join. You know, who doesn't want to go and work in distant frontiers and make a lot of money doing it as well at the same time, right? But I would say that it's still an industry that competes very well in terms of attracting talent. You know, contrary to popular belief, it's not always been that the people who do very, very well at school, who
will be the ones
who really want to go in and work in the oil industry. There's been some, I would say, misconceptions about, you know, the fact that it's a very heavy industry and stuff like that. But now we see that people who are bright, people who are smart, have this willingness, this wanting to go and work in the oil industry, simply because I think the technology that we are talking about, it continues to expand. For example, in Malaysia, right? I think Petronas has taken great strides in doing this. They have a university. The engineering school at UTP, I would consider one of the best, if not the best in Malaysia. I would go so far as to say in Southeast Asia.
Okay. I have to go to the first break, but after we are back, I would like to get Arvin's view on, sometimes people don't believe that we can also be at the frontiers of technology, especially if we say oil and gas. What? We're not that big. But I do know that Petronas, in certain things, what they're doing or what they're thinking of doing are one of the first to be done in the world.
Yes.
So maybe I would like to tap your views into that, because I'm sure you deal with Petronas and other state national oil companies a lot. But for your information, thank you so much for watching again, Awani. I will update you on football. We are ahead on aggregate 4-3 right now. So don't worry, watch again, Awani. We'll talk about petroleum, but we'll keep on updating you about football also right after this break. You are still watching Agenda. Awani and Malaysia still leading on aggregate in the AFF Cup. But I want to go to Arvin now, and he's been kind enough to share with us. I just want to step back a bit, because maybe for the benefit of the younger audience or even their parents looking at, you know, they always think, okay, go and work in the oil and gas, but where in the oil and gas, and how do you look at it? Because it used to be that, you know, we look at the big names, the state or national oil companies. But I guess I might be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, that a lot of people don't really look at the services providers, you know, oil field services providers right there. And Baker Hughes, for example, been around for more than 100 years and looking at all this technology. So, you know, what's the best way to drill for this particular area, or what's the data that you need, what kind of modeling do you do, you know. And now people are saying that, you know, gee, don't just blame fossil fuel. We can use the oil fields that we can pump CO2 in and keep them there. So these are the new things. So I guess I want to tap into your observation here. You know, the youngsters out there, I think they must be exposed to the services side of the oil and gas industry too.
Yeah. So generally, the way it works in the oil industry is that you have what we call operators or oil companies, and these oil companies are broken up into national oil companies, companies like Petronas, Saudi Aramco, the companies who are nationalized, right? And then you have international oil companies like Shell and Exxon and the likes of them. But they generally don't do very much of their own drilling or what it takes to extract the oil from the ground. That's where we come in. That's where companies like Baker Hughes partner with them and provide solutions for them to drill these wells, to complete them, to produce the oil from them, to have chemicals that we provide to boost the production that we have. So that's the kind of relationship there is in the oil industry. You know, I'll take a minute here to talk about you know, this collaboration. It's at industry events like the IPTC that is going on right now that you know, we get a chance for people from the services side, from the operator side, to come together to look at the common challenges that we have. IPTC is for Middle East and Asia Pacific. It's a technology conference and exhibition. So it's a forum where people can come together, talk about the various challenges that people are facing around the region, and come up with ideas as to how to solve these things. You talked earlier about you know, not just drilling wells to produce new hydrocarbons. You know, it's something that it's not a very well-known fact. When you drill a well, when you produce a reservoir, very often you don't produce anything more than 30 or 40% of it from a natural drive mechanism. So, you know, you drill a hole in the ground, stuff that comes up on its own, it maybe constitutes about 30 or 40% of the reserves that are actually in place. The question then is what then do you do about it? Then we have things like enhanced oil recovery in terms of flooding the reservoirs with water to maintain the pressure, because it's all about pressure, right? If there's enough pressure downhole, the oil will come up. So if that pressure is not enough, what can you do? You can do things like flood the fields with water to boost that pressure so the oil will start flowing again. You can flood the fields with carbon dioxide to allow the oil to flow a little bit easier. You can reduce the viscosity of the oil. That's things that you can do. So all these come under what we call production enhancement, and doing more, sweating the assets that we have more, and able to increase recovery. Because if you're talking about affordable energy, if you're talking about how technology allows us to make energy affordable, I think really we're talking about three major aspects. One is you've got to optimize cost. Right? You've got to try and drill the wells that you drill as most cost efficiently as possible. Then you've got to try and increase the production or maximize your production that you're getting from your reservoirs. And then try and increase the reserves that you find. So, you know, trying to drill in areas where the reserves are more. So I think these three things all require technology that companies like us, in collaboration with the oil companies, bring to the table.
There's this perception that technology is expensive, especially for oil and gas. But I remember, you know, in Europe, where the market is more mature, the industry is a bit more mature, there'll be like the version of small and medium scale for them. You know, companies who started maybe taking one slice out, looking at maybe the geophysics side, at modeling of reservoir, for example. You know, because sometimes if people tend to look at it as too big, so they don't see opportunities to go into it. But I guess now is the right time as ever with you know, bigger capacity computing, cloud computing, Internet of Things and stuff like this. There are rooms to make it more efficient, to make it more modern, for example, which is rightly needed in the industry, for example.
It is.
So it shouldn't just be looked upon as potential employers, but it also should be looked upon as knowledge sharing and also maybe partnering for a small section that you can build an expertise in.
Yeah, you know, I think when you have small areas of technology that you focus in, what you can do is become very, very, very good in that small area that you focus in. And you can provide very niche solutions, very customized solutions to the people that you're providing them to. However, one of the other things, and this is sort of a little bit on the other end of the spectrum, is that people have tended to look at these technologies very much in segments, very much in isolation, and the thinking now is that we need to take a more holistic view. A more holistic view into
end-to-end kind of thing.
Yeah, the end-to-end, right? Into the entire spectrum of what it takes to drill and produce oil fields.
We'll go to the last break, but once we are back, let's look at what's in store for the future. Because if they are young parents or they are young students out there, they might take some time to go and join the industry. But it's good for them to look at the skill set and also the knowledge areas from now. Because now with Google, you can go and learn almost everything.
You can, yes.
So maybe you can help point them to areas where they should look at. You know, is it a multidisciplinary approach? You know, take MBA together with your physical sciences, geology and stuff, or what? So that's what we're going to look at. And I think we're going to continue this discussion with Aravin because it's a lucky charm. I think Malaysia has gotten the 4th goal. So we're ahead on aggregate now. 5-3 in that sense, and we might just qualify. So let's continue discussing this and keep on praying that Harimau Malaya will prevail in Vietnam after this. I'm still talking about, there's this big conference, IPTC, that's ongoing right now. Tomorrow, still be there. You can go and see it yourself. But if you're thinking about joining the petroleum industry in that sense, I would like to take this angle where without the advancement and technological prowess of the petroleum industry, you know, it's going to be very difficult for our efforts in trying to locate MH370, for example, because South Indian Ocean is uncharted territory, and there's a lot of technology that you need to use to be able to even consider the operations in trying to locate. So thanks to the petroleum industry in that sense, but heading towards the future, I'm sure the technological quantum leap will be even more because it's very competitive now, there's more challenges, and technology is really at the center of it all.
Right. Technology is very much at the center of what we do, right? I mean, the oil industry has evolved over the last 100 or so years. When we, you know, used to start drilling wells, we made a hole in the ground. I mean, it was as simple as that. You made a hole in the ground and the oil came out. But soon that wasn't enough. And then you had to drill down further. And so you had to make drill bits that would allow you to drill a little bit further. And then we discovered that if you just drill straight down, you're not going to go very far. You can only cover the area which you get by drilling vertically. So we started drilling deviated wells. Deviated wells led to horizontal wells. And today we drill wells that are so far out. In Russia, in the Sakhalin Islands, for example, Baker Hughes drilled in 2003, and I was actually involved in that project. Wells that went out 10, 11, 12 kilometers. That's a long way to go.
Very long.
You start on the beach and you go below the seabed. And, you know, even in terms of electronics, right, when we start getting into hotter temperatures, because we're drilling into these hot formations, the electronics industry as it stands right now doesn't produce these electronics that can withstand these high temperatures. You know, your main source of electronics consumption is the consumer industry. And you don't need anything very high temperature for that. But when you're talking about 175, 200 degrees Celsius down there, trying to put electronics into measurement systems that will withstand this temperature, and not just withstand the temperature, but the vibration that is derived from drilling these wells, you're pushing the boundaries of technology here. The other, you know, by its very application, oil field technology is quite far advanced, right? Because when you're drilling a well, you have no idea what's going on 2,000 meters under the ground. You can't see what's going on.
There's no visual.
There's no visual there. You've got to have measurements that tell you by inference what's going on, so that you can depict the subsurface conditions, and based on that make the decisions that you need to make. We use technologies like MRI technology, like nuclear magnetic resonance technology, nuclear technology downhole. All this is used to give us a picture. So we're actually pushing those boundaries, and that's why I think it's an interesting field for, like you said, young people to get into, right? Because it's not just this thing where you go out and you're on an oil rig and you drill wells. There's a lot of technology involved.
If you like the frontier, you can go out there, but if you don't, you can remain somewhere in Houston and decide on
here in Malaysia, in KL, right? Because one of the other things that is happening is not all the technology or all the people who need to do the work are necessarily at the rig site. In a push to increase safety, decrease the number of people that are out there, and of course these are fixed platforms. Sometimes you don't have the space to have people out there. We're trying to get more and more done in the office, remotely, right? So you can now monitor what's going on your rig site here in KL. And that's what a lot of oil companies do. That's what we help oil companies to do. And so that's, you know, that requires a lot of technology. That requires people to be IT savvy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll end with that. If you want to know more, you have to go to IPTC and see. You can find Arvind there maybe tomorrow and ask him personally. And I've discussed this issue before about human capital and talent in the oil and gas industry. And it's what, like 50% are retiring soon in the next decade and decade after that. So it's a lot of fresh blood needed.
Yes,
and with all these technological challenges. So it's good for you to have a perspective on that. Thank you so much, Arvind, for making time.
No problems.
Terima kasih banyak untuk anda juga yang telah menonton agenda Awani. Hantarkan pandangan anda sendiri tentang perkara ini kepada pelbagai platform yang Astro Awani ada. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, ataupun terus muat turun aplikasi Mudah Alih iOS dan Android supaya anda boleh menonton diskusi seperti ini secara langsung di gadget Mudah Alih anda. Dan saya rasa Harimau Melaya masih di depan kerana saya tak mendengar sebarang sorakan di telinga saya daripada dalam PCR. Terima kasih banyak dan insyaAllah Harimau Melaya akan terus berjaya dan kita juga akan terus berjaya membincangkan perkara-perkara di Astro Awani. Sekian, selamat malam, jumpa lagi. Thank you so much.